r/AskReddit. What's your best true spooky story? Serious, Part 4. This just happened at Thanksgiving this year. We have 2 kids, and the 5-month-old sleeps in our room. Wife went out Black Friday shopping, so I stayed home with the kids. About 12 AM the 5-month-old wakes up screaming. I comfort him and I'm walking back and forth in our pitch black room when all of a sudden I feel a rush of air and see what I believe is my 2-year-old standing there. It wasn't him. It was what I can describe as a white light mist shaped like my son standing there. When I blinked it was gone. Actually, when I saw it I gasped for air and all the hair on my body stood on end. Put my son back to sleep and was sort of confused, scared the rest of the night. Ever since that night stuff has been happening. Toys are constantly turning on when I'm near them, lights are switching on and off when we aren't in rooms, and I can feel a presence in my bedroom. It's tough to describe, I haven't seen it since, but I can always feel it there. It seems to be attached or focused on my son. One night my wife and I were talking about laying some pipe when all of a sudden a vibrator in her drawer went on full throttle. House was built in the 40s and I have no history on it. A little bit of exposition. When I was in high school there was this old dilapidated plantation-style mansion that had been completely abandoned for years. My friends and I would go out there from time to time to creep ourselves out. I probably went out there about 3 or 4 times over my high school years. We all called it the Austin House because it was near to Austin, Florida. When I say that this place was creepy, I mean it was legitimately like Stephen King nightmare creepy. Firstly, it was way out in the middle of an almost primitive jungle swampy forest in Florida. Nighttime in places like that has a way of becoming almost otherworldly, with the huge moss-covered live oaks completely blocking out the stars and the thick undergrowth and all of the animal noises you hear. I have no idea who had lived there or how long it had been abandoned, but it had been a long time. There were holes in the floor and dangerous staircases and was probably not a safe place to be, and certainly not a place that you would want to just hang out by yourself. Inside the house there were all sorts of satanic symbols, red painted pentagrams and very well drawn satanic goats and stuff. Not really, just like it was some stupid kids that had done it. On the floors were candles and ritualistic symbols and whatnot where it looked like people had been doing occult rituals or something. So this one night, my friends and I are bored, so we decide to go out there again for grins and giggles. You can barely see the house back through the woods from this crappy dirt road and we start making our way towards it. The place was completely silent and pitch black save for our flashlight beams. As we were getting nearer to the house, which had been in our view the entire time, we noticed that someone had placed a burning candle in the top window, on the 3rd floor. We definitely would have noticed it walking up, so someone must have been watching us and lit the candle when we got close to mess with us. The idea of some creepy cult members watching us in pitch black silence really creeped us out. I have no idea who it would have been, but we noped the heck out of there very quickly and we never went back after that. Last I heard the house had been demolished finally by the county in the past few years. I've posted this before, but it's a great one. I have a tale. This is my parents' story, but it is so good the internet needs it. Sorry for the extreme length. This is like a 2-hour story when my parents tell it. They remember it even more vividly than I could type about it. This is 100% real. If you think otherwise, bugger off. Part 1. Meekwon. Back in the 80s, my parents had just gotten married, graduated from college, and had my big brother. They moved into a small house in a very affluent neighborhood north of Milwaukee. The house was surprisingly in their budget, again. Just graduated from college and med school with a little one, but was the smallest on the block. My parents made an offer that was a few under the asking price. 2 other couples offered more than the asking, bidding war. However, the old man that owned the house rejected both of those offers and said he wanted my folks to have it. He said he and his late wife would have both agreed it was the right thing to do. My folks are super grateful and are extremely excited to be living in the neighborhood. There are many youngsters, so my brother had lots of playtime. Life was very good. Then, crap starts going down. Part 2. Red light. The first thing was with the basement. So, during this time my mom stayed at home with my brother and my dad was getting his practice started. He worked super late and was only home on Sundays basically. My mom did laundry in the basement and one day when she was walking upstairs, a red light at the bottom of the stairs turned on. Now I am told this is a super bright light, and the switch for it was taken out long ago. It is almost like a fallout shelter emergency light with a cage on it. My mom didn't know what to think, so she starts going downstairs to investigate. The light turns off. She figures that maybe it was some sort of surge. The next day, she goes downstairs again, comes up, the light is on again. Again starts walking down and it turns off. She does not shrug it off this time. She waits a bit at the bottom of the stairs and then walks back upstairs. The light turns on and she runs down this time to catch it. Only this time, it starts flashing like a strobe light before she can even reach the bottom. She noped the heck out the house so quickly with my brother and didn't go back the rest of the day. The light never turned on for my dad or turned on again after that day. Part 3, Knock Knock. After the red light thing my mom is naturally shook up. She is scared to go downstairs without my dad, rightfully so. But there was something that started before the red light but escalated after. Knocking. My parents figured this was originally just natural sounds of the house as it was fairly old. It would be very sporadic and very infrequent, until one night, my parents were in bed chatting about the day, bills, etc etc. Then they started hearing knocking. It started in their room under the bed, then on the walls and ceiling. It would be about 30 seconds apart and they could not find a source. Then it sounded like the knocking was outside their room. So, they got up and tried following the sound and find where it was. They went all over the house trying to figure out where it came from. Every time they thought they found the source, it would jump to a different side of the room. They eventually were in the foyer/living room and tracked the knocking super frequently and super loud to the foyer closet. My mom had a fireplace poker in hand, and my dad a bat. He crept towards the closet and as he reached for the doorknobs, a voice calls out to them, "Knock knock." He swung the doors open. There was nothing there, and all the knocking stopped. My parents could do nothing but stare at each other. Neither of them slept that night. Part 4, It Pushed Me. After the red light and knock knock, my parents are wary of this house. My mom is on the verge of a breakdown and not dealing with this well at all. Remember, she is in this house all day with this nonsense. My dad is usually more skeptical towards this kind of stuff, but he knows something is very wrong and thinks my mom is totally justified in her feelings. Well, we fast forward a few weeks, maybe even a month. It is a normal night like any other. My parents are asleep in their room, my brother in his. In the middle of the night, my mom suspects 2 to 3 a.m. can't be certain, being all drowsy. My parents wake up to a huge thud. Immediately my parents jump up and hear my brother is awake calling for them. They rush into his room and he is laying down in the very center of the room on the floor with his blanket perfectly taut and draped on him. As though he was tucked into bed, but on the ground at least 5 feet from his bed. My parents pick him up and ask him what happened. He responds pointing to the closet, "It pushed me. The fox pushed me." My dad opens the closet, rifles through everything looking for an animal, and of course finds nothing. So this is weird, right? Why would a 3-year-old say such a thing? Well, in this moment, my parents remember the last name of the old man that sold them the house, Fox. Part 5, Reconciliation. I kid you not, my parents freaked out on this. There were too many things going on. My mom refused to let herself and my brother stay in the house, especially since she was now pregnant with my sister. My dad decided he was going to take care of this. Again, he is not a superstitious man. He is a doctor and a man of logic. However, he knew there was something going on with this house. A night or two after the fox incident, my dad sat down in the living room and had a talk with the spirit of the house. He said this, "I don't know if you are real. I do not know if you are Mrs. Fox, but I do know this, you are going to stop. We are a peaceful and loving family. If you are Mrs. Fox, your husband would be ashamed of you. He wanted us to have our family here because he knew you would want us to. Just as you raised your family here, I want to do the same. You may stay here as long as you like. But, you cannot do this to us anymore. I am sorry for your passing and for your pain, but you cannot take it out on us. My wife is pregnant, and you are causing her loads of stress. You even went after my son. This will stop, or I will seek out someone who will make it stop. Thank you, good night. After this, nothing bad happened to my family again. There were no lights, knocks, or foxes. But, and this is the craziest thing ever, there was one final thing. In a wooden cabinet that my mom bought at a neighborhood garage sale a few days after they moved into the house, there was a card, an anniversary card. It said, "Happy anniversary Emma and Mrs. Blank from Fox." This was found 2 days after my parents' anniversary in June after they moved the cabinet to the other side of the room. They had owned the cabinet since they moved into the house and had not seen the old man since they bought the house either. My parents have moved many times over the years and lost the card inevitably. We still have the cabinet. It sits in our cabin to this day. The end. I removed my parents' names because you are on Reddit and I don't trust all of you. I forgot something from part 4. My brother was in the middle of the room put to bed on the floor. Well, after all the dust had settled, my parents started renovating. They wanted to put carpet in my brother's room. So they tore up the tile/fake flooring stuff, and to quote my dad, "Right where your freaking brother was laying on the Fox night, there was a blood stain. Mrs. Fox had died in the house, in my brother's room. She was very ill, but fell while trying to replace a light in the room." Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed the content, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel for more Reddit videos like this. Don't forget to smash that like button and stay crispy, guys.